Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin and I want to say a special hi to a lot of you that started following me last month and welcome here. It's a mess, but it's a good time. I know that my background looks a little different, not that you've seen like every possible background in my place, but I'm currently staying at my mother's. February was a month. It started off strong. Started off with Beyonce announcing her tour and then me scrambling and fighting for my life for tickets, which I got, by the way. Thank you for everyone's prayers, thoughts, and good vibes. Thank you. And then by mid-February, shit just derailed. There was apartment fire at my apartment. My apartment and I and Blair, we are totally fine. My apartment floor, like the floor that my unit is on, different story. And so yeah, I'm staying with my mom for a while. Who knows? Anyways, that derailed my reading a little bit. I started off strong. I read a few things. And so I was vlogging and then I wasn't, because moving stuff out of my apartment to stay at my mom's and dealing with all that. So but here, let me tell you what I did read for February. I wanted to read some romance because I wanted to warm my cold heart. And that was really my only plan. And I still didn't even do that a whole lot. And then I had a buddy read with Ray. We read Blackmail and Babinka. But anyway, let's get into these books. Let's talk about them from the beginning. So the first book that I picked up in February was The Dating Playbook by Farah Rashan. This is the second book in the Boyfriend Project series, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I had such a good time with this. This is about Taylor, one of the friends in the friend group from the Boyfriend Project, and Jamar. He is a football player who sustained an injury which put him into early retirement, so he couldn't play anymore. But here's the thing, Jamar feels like he can get back into the NFL. And Taylor is a trainer and he goes to check Taylor out. Not her out, but you know, her training style, because he's like, I want her to be my trainer. I know that she can get me back into the best shape of my life and I can get back to the NFL. Now, Jamar's reasons for wanting to get back to the NFL is not just to prove it to the people that doubted him, but also for some very personal reasons that he feels like he needs to make it back in. And Taylor also wants Jamar to get back into the NFL because if he does, then it'll be a boost for her personal training career. Here's the thing, Jamar doesn't want anyone to know that he's training again to get back into the NFL. So they've got to keep it a secret. And one day they're out and about in these streets and someone's like, what are you guys doing together? Are you guys like practicing for, you know, for Jamar to get back into the NFL? And it's like, no, we're dating. Panic excuse. And I loved every minute of it. I love a fake dating trope. It's one of my favorites, even though, does this ever happen in real life? No, but that's not the point. Taylor had her own set of issues and insecurities and reasons for wanting to get Jamar back into the limelight. And also, she had her own reasons for being very apprehensive about the fake dating situation. I liked Taylor and Jamar together. I thought that they were a very cute couple. I think that they talked through things like adults. I enjoy that when, you know, people communicate. Overall, I just had a really good time. It was light, it was fluffy, it was cute, they were cute. I will say it felt a little weird because Taylor was the main character in this one, but I felt like we talked a lot about London, who is the person we'll focus on in the third book and is one of the third friends in this little trio. I feel like there was a lot of focus in setting up for London's story, and it felt a little weird. Did I mind? No, because it made me a little bit more excited to get to London, which hopefully I will get to soon, maybe. Then moving on to Blackmail and Babinka by Mia P. Manansala. Me and Ray were buddy reading this. We've been buddy reading a book every month. I don't know for how long, but I feel like this is just who we are now. This is what we do. And this is the second in the Tita Rosie's Kitchen series. No, this is the third book in the that series. And so I gave this 3.5 stars. I've given every single book in this series 3.5 stars. Like, it's good and it keeps me interested to want to read the next one. But also, I think I just don't like Mia as a person. And she's the main character, not Mia, Lila. I don't like Lila as the main character, and she's annoying. But I think that's where it's never gonna get like beyond a 3.5 because I find Lila annoying. But in this one, Lila's cousin Ronnie has come back. He's been gone from the family for years. He is the troublemaker of the family. He doesn't do well by the rest of his family, especially his mother. And he's back in town, opening up a winery with some friends that he made back in like Florida or something. However, his investors, they're also at the winery at this time. And you know what happens? One of the investors dies. This is not a spoiler. It's a cozy mystery series. Someone's gonna die. And so we're trying to figure out who poisoned this woman. And was it Ronnie, the cousin? Was it one of the other like business owners of the winery? Was it the investor's husband? Who was it? Well, I was gonna say we'll never know, but you do know because you find out at the end of the book, because that's how mysteries work. But it was a good ride. I actually enjoyed Lila more than I did in the previous 2 books. She was less insufferable. And so I had a good time reading this. It was fun, it was quick, it was light. Got through it. I think I may have even chuckled once or twice. But will I be reading the 4th book and probably with Ray? Yes. Yes, I will be. So then I listened to The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Filia and had a really good time with this. It was a collection of short stories. I think I'm really liking short story collections. I think that might be who I am. It was a collection of short stories from different women who have some kind of connection to the church, whether they went to church, whether it was their grandmothers or aunts or mothers who wanted them to be in church, and just the relationship to it. It was so heartbreaking and moving, emotional, some were a little inspiring. Were any of them inspiring? Yeah, they were inspiring to like live your truth, to stand in who you fully are and be who you are. And I appreciated that because I could see so many people I know in each of those stories. I could see like the grandmothers who are like, you know, find a man, and because that is your way to be secure. But there are also like people who are trying to figure out what their sexual identity is, but they've been told by the church that you must be a certain way, otherwise you're not deemed acceptable. And you know, fighting with that within yourself. Or just like the woman who wants to be loved and she finds this love in the arms of like someone else's husband, why that happens. And in turn seeing like your mother in a relationship like that, what that does to you and how you view relationships. It was really good. I had a fantastic time with this. I feel like a good nonfiction companion to this would be Candice Marie Benbow's Red Lip Theology, where she also talks about her experience being in the Black church and a woman that's a preacher in the Black church. So I thought that would be a great combination. And I just had a good time listening to it. I would definitely read more by this author because I was so drawn into every story that was told, and I felt like I could connect in some way to some aspect of every story. 4.5 stars for me. Then I read Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. It is a memoir where she talks about her relationship with her parents, her mother, who she lived with and grew up with, and her father, who was incarcerated since she was like born or like very early on in her life. And so we mostly focus on her relationship with her mother because that's who she sees, that's who she's with, that's who she lives with. We also focus on her relationship with her grandmother because her grandmother is also a very prevalent force in her life. I enjoyed it, but there were just things that I did not like her relationship with her mother is they butt heads at at various points. And, you know, there are reasons why her mother acts the way that she does. And as a kid, you don't really understand why your parents do or say the things that they do, because they're dealing with their own grown-up issues and aren't explaining it to kids, but you just think like your mom is being mean or whatever. But like, there's a reason. Not that your mother should have taken things out in the way that they took them out, but whatever. But the thing is, we focus on these isolated incidents, and we never really see like the resolution to the incident. We never see that the reconciliation, which takes place off page. And so then you just get swept into the next incident. And so it's kind of like, well, did we move on from the thing that just happened? Or are we carrying that baggage from the thing that just happened and carrying it into this new incident that may be separate, may be the same? It didn't feel like it all connected for me. And so I just felt like it was a little all over the place. And then we introduce her father, and she finds out why her father was incarcerated. And she goes through a range of emotions, finding out why. And then she has this reunion with him that also felt like disconnected from what we had already been talking about, because like we don't really like bring it all together. We don't talk about her reunion with her father and how that's in connection with her mother, and like how all of those relationships are messy and tangled up. And so I just felt like it was just a little bit too all over the place for me. The writing definitely sucked me in. I was definitely with her each step and in each scenario that happened. But like after the end of a chapter, I'd just be feeling like, well, what now? And that's how I felt about that. I listened to the Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman by Ernest P. Gaines. This is about a woman who was, I want to say like about 10 years old when enslaved people were emancipated in the US. And so you're following this woman. She lives to be like 100 and like over 100 years old. And so she's telling her life story from the time that she was freed to not her death, because I don't think she dies in this book, but the 60s. And so she's seen a lot, you know what I mean? Like, she had to go through hardships, trying to maintain relationships with people, grow family because she had none. She creates a family with the boy of a woman who died while they were trying to make their way to a better place. I think they were trying to make it to Ohio, and she's in Louisiana. And then she realizes like, oh, to get to Ohio, it's just not like a day trip. Like, it's gonna take some time. So then she kind of settles into Louisiana, and the life that she leads there, they talk about colorism and fair-skinned people were treated versus the darker-skinned people that were in the area. How people were trying to fight for just rights and have education and access to a better life that white people already had, and how white people at every turn were just trying to like stomp them out and keep them in their place. So she's telling us her story, but she's also telling us the story about other people in her lives and in connection to these other things that are discussed. I really had a good time with it. It is a Black classic. I really enjoyed the audiobook. It really put me in an authentic place, like you were really listening to somebody who had lived from slavery to civil rights era and had experienced all of this in her lifetime. So I think I ended up giving that like 4.25. Then I had an arc from NetGalley called How to Keep a Husband for 10 Days by Jessica Hatch. Again, I was in the mood for some love, you know, some rom-com action. And let me tell you, I DNF'd this at 35%. When I first read the synopsis of it, I thought of, what's that Jennifer Aniston movie with the dude, Vince Vaughn? And like they break up, but they're trying to fight over the apartment that they live in. Either way, you know what movie I'm talking about. I'll put it here. And so in my head, that's what I have going on, right? This rom-com type of deal. There's this woman, Lena, and her husband, Brown, that, how could I forget? I hated his name. Why is your name Brown? That's your first name. It's not like a last name we just affectionately call you Brown. Your name is Brown. That's That's not what this book is about. Anyway, Lena and Brown are filing for divorce. Like Lena had just filed for divorce. They're living in separate places. But Lena has a friend that is coming into town, and she's friends with Lena and Brown. And Lena doesn't want any of their friends to know that they are getting divorced. Lena just doesn't think it's like the right time to tell them. And so she asks Brown to stay at their home with them, to pretend that they are still married for this long weekend while the friend is there. Now, while the friend is there, they find out that the building that they all used to live in all the tenants have to move out because the rent is being raised too high. It's just, affordable housing is not a thing for this building anymore. It's old. The building is old, and somebody needs to come and just tear it down and take over. And so in the place will become high-rise buildings that people will not be able to afford. And Lena is just so compelled to fight for this building to stay where it is and to stay affordable for people. And really she's doing that because she feels like this was the place that her and Brown met. They built their relationship here. This is where she made all of these friends. And if she can't keep this together, if she can't save this apartment building, it's just another example of how she could not save her marriage. Now, Brown is not with the shits. He's like, girl, why are we doing this? Let's just tell the friends that we're getting divorced and be on our way. Like, he didn't want the divorce. Lena did because I guess she felt Brown was too brown. Not skin color, brown is white. But like, I don't know. Wasn't feeling Brown anymore. Maybe because he was too immature or whatever. But, because I never know. 35% in, and I still don't know the exact reason why Lena wanted a divorce from Brown. So I'm just guessing at this point. And so Brown's not with the shits. He wants them to just divorce and be over with, go on about his life, and Lena keeps dragging him in. She seemed very selfish, self-absorbed, and I understand that she was going through a lot with this divorce, but like, girl, you wanted to divorce him. And now you're making him pretend to be your husband still for 10 days to save face with your friends, who I'm pretty sure will not, I mean, they're going to care that they're getting divorced, but pretending to be married is not going to sway them one way or the other. It just doesn't make sense. So it was stupid. Lena was annoying and selfish and just going through the most ridiculous schemes to get this apartment building to stay as it was for her when she lived there. And I did not care. So I DNF'd it. So much for my rom-com plans for February. Then I also read Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trapped Feminist by Cecily Bowen. I was having a really good time, and I will say I finished it. I really enjoyed it. It's a memoir. It's Cecily Bowen's memoir, and it talks about her experiences being Black, fat, queer, and I like I said, I really enjoyed it. However, this came at the time that the fire happened, and so I was listening to it on audio, and I think for the first couple of days, like after the fire happened, I was just listening to it just to have some kind of sound around, and so I wasn't fully absorbing it to the point of like remembering what it was about. But like in the moment, I do remember liking what she was saying, agreeing with a lot of what she talked about. She talked about, you know, men loving on her in private but not acknowledging her in the light because she was not socially, physically acceptable. Or I remember the very last thing was about friendships amongst women, and, you know, letting like men get in between those friendships. And that, I was like, she's making some points here. There were other things that she talked about, and I just can't quite remember. I will definitely be going back to reread it with my eyeballs at some point in time, because there were things that I wanted to write notes about, and I think I just also want to remember more of it. But I had a good time. I would recommend it for sure. Like I said, I can't like fully remember exactly what happened, but I remember the feelings I had while reading it. And those feelings were that she was making excellent points, that I agreed with a lot of what she was saying, and that it was very poignant and like real. Like, and then I did not read for a few days. My mind was not on reading. I was trying to pack up stuff and move it to my mom's. And then I was doing reading sprints to celebrate Monet from Life is Monet reaching 6,000 subscribers. So congrats to you, Monet. And I started Spy Family because it was easy to consume and I just knew it would go by fast. But boy, did I not know that I would have such a good time with it. So this is about a guy. He's a spy. He has a mission, and part of this mission includes having a family. But like, he's a spy. He doesn't have time to cultivate a relationship, and especially not to the point of having like a kid that he needs to have to enroll in school to complete this mission. So he goes about creating this whole little fake family, and everybody in this family has a thing. Like, he's a spy. The wife is she an assassin? I think she's an assassin. And like, the daughter is a telepath, but like, nobody knows about each other. And it's just a good fucking time. I laughed out loud. It was the mental release that I needed, and I had such a good time. I already have the second volume. I'm definitely going to be picking that up in February, in March. We're in March. God, time goes by so fast. But I will definitely be picking that up in March because such a fast read and had such a good time. The fact that I was laughing out loud while reading this says enough. So I think I ended up giving that like 4 stars, 4.5, somewhere around there. But yeah, that's everything I read in February. Have you guys read any of these things? Did you like them? Did you not? Let's talk about it in the comments. What are you guys reading in March? Let me know. I am curious. And until next time.